Lighting, video 1. Continuing with our Revit model, once we have completed all of our finishes, we will do our last piece of finish work and complete our lighting. Now lighting requires a few more elements added before we can insert lights. We'll need to cut a section view through the house and go ahead and open that section view. I'm going to choose this one here. And actually I'm going to flip this section just so we can see farther into this space. You can cut a section anywhere in the home. It's all the same. We'll right click and go to view. And here's the section of the home where I made the section cut. We will need to place a ceiling into our home. Now a ceiling is it's very similar, just like a floor, except it is the only thing that lights understand to host to which to host. So we will need to have a piece of sheetrock or gypsum wallboard placed on the bottom of our attic floor so that we can host lights onto the ceiling. Right now lights would not host onto a floor, so we need to make this happen. First thing we're going to do, we're going to take our our floor, our existing attic floor, and we're going to move this floor up 1/2 inch. We're going to make room for that ceiling to fit between the crown molding that we placed and the ceiling or the floor itself, which acts as the ceiling. So we're going to move this floor up 0.5 inches. All right, the computer's going to say a few things. That's fine. We can ignore those warnings. We can also, if you don't want to use the move command, you can click on the floor and you can change the height offset to 1/2 of an inch. Alright, so now we are going to create a ceiling that fits in this space that we have created. So it's going to be a 1/2 inch piece of gypsum wallboard that's placed on the underside of the attic floor system. Alright, to do this, we need to click on the first floor ceiling plan. Not the first floor plan, but the first floor ceiling plan. Alright, and you'll see it looks a little different. It's cut on the height of the floor in a different way. I believe it's around 7 feet above the floor, 7.5, rather than 4 feet, which is what a floor plan is cut at. If we turn on shaded, we'll see some coloring. It's not really going to do much. And we'll go ahead and insert the ceiling. We'll go to the ceiling button, which is on the architecture tab, and we are given 2 different types of ceilings. We are going to use neither one of these. We're going to create our own because we need it to be 1/2 of an inch thick, and we need to assign that material gypsum wallboard. So we're going to use the generic ceiling, and we are going to edit type, and we are going to duplicate, and we are going to call this gypsum wallboard 1/2 inch. So GWB 1/2, just so we know which is which. Alright, and actually no, pardon me, back out. We're going to take the gypsum wallboard on metal stud and duplicate. Here's why. We need to be able to edit the structure. The generic is just generic. It's a thin, it's almost like an invisible element, which will allow you to host a ceiling or allow you to host lights. But we actually want that thick piece. So we're going to start with the gypsum wallboard on metal stud, duplicate, and we will gypsum wallboard 1/2 inch. Sorry about that. That's my mistake. We will click on the structure, we'll edit the structure, and we're going to move this finished piece up to inside the core. and then we're going to delete the metal stud. So now we have a simple total thickness of 1/2 inch gypsum wallboard. Perfect. It'll match the paint color in the house. And then we'll choose OK, and we want this ceiling to go in at 9 feet. I'm 99% sure that's what we want. It may be 8'11" and 1/2, but I will verify that in one moment. Go ahead and choose 9 feet. All right, now you'll see in some areas you can place the ceiling. You'll have this little red boundary, and in some places you won't. I'm not sure why that happens. I believe it has something to do with the crown molding, maybe. But we can sketch the ceiling in where we don't have the red. So we're right now hang on with automatic ceiling, and we'll click every area that has a space for a ceiling. All right, and we don't have a full boundary here for whatever reason, but we can sketch the ceiling, and then we can pick walls like we would if we were making a floor. So it's pretty simple. We may have to do some trimming of the lines to make it all work. We will, based on that wall right there, but we will be all right. And click on modify. We're going to move this in. We'll click our trim tool and make sure we have one continuous boundary around. All right. And let's see if my boundary's good. It is. And now we have the blue. We're also going to add the ceiling element on the porch because we may want to add a light above. We probably will. So we're going to do that as well. We're going to click on ceiling and the gypsum wallboard. We will sketch the ceiling. We're going to draw lines here. I'm going to use the rectangle. I'm going to start with one side. Probably going to go past this wall. Nope. Yes, that's fine. And then I'm going to go all the way to this corner. All right, we may need to come back in with a section cut and check this line because it's not symmetrical on either side of the column, but we'll check that later. Click OK, and there we are. All right, I'm going to drag this down real quick, check that section view, and see where we are. Yeah, we're just a little bit farther out than we should be. That wall sweep is still sitting there from earlier. So the funny thing is whenever you add the trim like we did in a few videos back, it does add itself to that attic level when we drew in the walls. It's fine, you can leave it there, it's not going to matter. So that ceiling is there. It may not pose a problem, it may. We'll have to edit the boundary. Let's go ahead and do that. Go back to first floor view when we edit the boundary. Zoom in and we can realign. Align on the edge of the slab. And there we go. Back to the section view, and there it is. Okay. So now we'll go back to our first floor ceiling plan, which you can tell the difference based on the icon. This is a reflected ceiling, and that is a floor. That is a section, and that is a section. So that's how you know. Okay, so we will need to see our underlay, excuse me, for this view, because we can't see anything as far as where furniture is. Obviously, we don't have furniture yet, but where the center of the room would be, where we would have an island, where we would put pendant lights on top. We don't know where any door openings are. So we need to see the first floor plan underneath this ceiling plan view. We can turn the underlay on by going to the properties and finding the underlay section, and we want the underlay to be the first floor. All right, when we click apply, we can see things like the windows, the doors. And let's see if I can change this and look down, if that helps us at all. Yes, okay, so you'll change it to look down instead of look up. So that gives us a little bit more with the island area. You still see my superimposed floor plan underneath, but actually I can go ahead and hide that, see if that'll help us. Actually, no, because that's on the first floor. We'll leave it like it is. We're good. So we can use model lines here to draw and find centers of rooms. I would highly recommend that. To place your lighting, we can go to the components, and our template file gives us a few different types of lights to place in the house. We have some recessed cans up here in the top. In the lighting section, we have a pendant light that we can use. And we also can load more components in. We click Load Family and find Lighting. There's a whole folder full of lights, internal and external. If we look at the internal lighting, we have some floor lamps that actually would go in the floor plan level, a sconce which can go on the wall, a pendant light hangs from the ceiling. And this will be all for the style that you've chosen, how you want to handle this. We have downlights, fluorescent lights even if you wanted to do that, troffers, wall lamps. So we have plenty of options we can download. I like recessed cans. They look clean. They hide in the ceiling. And here's our downlights. Here are recessed cans. So if you click on one of these lights, you'll see that as long as you're in the ceiling plan view, you can hover over and place these lights. There's no real way to pin them to a certain location unless you want to eyeball the dimensions that are here. So what you can do is before you place the light, you click on Modify, and we'll go to Model Lines, and you can find, like for example, the center of this aisle, and you could place a series of lights along this line. The trick is with the model lines is they do appear on the first floor plan. So you'll need your first floor plan available so that you can edit these lines if need be. Alright, so we're going to click on these model lines. I'm going to hide or delete them. I'm going to find, this is center of the island. And then this is center of the aisle. So this scheme will be up to you how you determine your spacing of your lights. We would not want a light every 2 or 3 feet. I've seen that done in Revit models. That wouldn't be feasible in a home. You may have a light every 6 feet. It really just depends on the size of the room. But right here I have the center of the room, and then I have this connection here on the 45 connection, and then I also have the end. So I may have 2 or 3 recessed can lights here when I place them in. So it's really just a pattern that you develop. It's the spacing that you develop. And let's go ahead and we will view the next video for placing lights in your home.